Welcome to Chapter 9. This is your host, Professor Montoya, and I'll be discussing guidelines and codes that affect design from the Architectural Drafting and Design textbook for our class. The book opens up with a little bit about lead energy, and we're going to delve into different factors that will help us design things. And this is based off the 2015 family of codes. The main purpose of establishing a code is an example of this building here, where some areas of the country have not adopted the building code and allow owners to build to their own standard. And this happens a lot in rural areas, and bad things can happen when you do go outside of the code. There are a couple of national code options. All of these have rolled into one. The International Code Council and a small number, all these have joined together to make the International Building Code that we now follow under. Historical codes include the BOCA, the Southern Building Congress International Code, and the International Conference of Building Officials. International model codes are in effect now, and these covers all buildings except detached single-family and two-family homes, townhomes 3 stories in height or less. Each of the codes has different books that come from it. There's life and safety. One is concerned with structural, another mechanical, and yet another for electrical and plumbing. Fire and life safety and structural codes have the largest effect in the design and construction of a residence. Code requirements that affect building design fall into some major categories. The major influence on the model code on structure has to do with structural components. And here are some of the other things that can happen. We look at habitable and non-habitable space, the location of the project and the property, egress and accessibility requirements. This has a lot to do with the Americans with Disability Act. There's minimum room size requirements, light, ventilation, and heating requirements, and safety equipment. What is habitable and non-habitable space? According to the IBC, a room is considered a habitable space when it is used for sleeping, living, cooking, and dining. Non-habitable means the closets, the pantries, the bath, toilet rooms, places where you do not frequently occupy. Also, there's the location on a piece of land. You will have easements, and those are dictated in the code. Just incidentally, the code class itself is a whole separate class. It would be almost unimaginable for me to try to encapsulate what the codes would be without having a full course on it. But there are terms that you should know. You should know the means of egress. How do you get out of a building? The IRC, which is there's IBC and IRC. IRC means the residential, uses the term egress to specify areas of access or exits provided by the doors, windows, and hallways. Because fire safety is such a large concern, we do have important sections of the code are dedicated to access doors, how to get in and out of a building. Here are some examples of how you should place your door so that it can open easily and allow the person to escape. You can't have a door like you can see in the X here, a door opening right onto a stairway would create a dangerous situation. So a landing is important, just as an example. Emergency egress openings, the size and location of windows is a major consideration with design exits. And you can tell that often in some of our projects that we've done in Revit, there are casement windows that are located in the basement, and we do have to have a surrounding area with metal to allow someone to come out of the basement through the window in the case of emergency. Above all this, for the architect, the designer, or the drafter, is you must spend most of your time understanding some of these key measurements. The measurements are based on what is the most normal size and where would you place each of these components. When we add components in Revit, it has a default and it kind of sets things that would still comply with code. So Revit kind of helps you in a way. If you have special conditions, though, you need to consult the code. Special note here for the stairs. Because of their importance, they must be considered early in the design process. Looks like we're going to have a complete description of stair construction in Chapter 39. Codes are a minimum. A minimum code requirement for stairs and parallel tread edges are listed in a table that we'll check on. And so it's important for you, once you have a design, to back check to make sure that you've done your due diligence for code work. The beginning student might benefit from Francis Ching's book. This is the Building Codes Illustrated, and within this book, as an option to some of your studies, is a graphic layout of all the key codes that you need to operate with. I'll be discussing future things from the Building Codes Illustrated in future videos. Back to our book, page 202 will show you and discuss some of the minimum room requirements for kitchens, toilet facilities, sanitation, ceiling heights, and there's a special book shown here in the figure. There's a book that just has all these details graphically laid out for easy reference. Lighting, ventilation, and heating requirements. Be sure to provide natural light. In the Beaux-Arts before electricity, that was really all that you really had to focus on. The IRC requires habitable rooms have to have natural light through windows, and there's a specific recipe for achieving that, where you measure how much sunlight can come into a room. You can have alternative methods of providing light and ventilation in the case that you cannot open out into the outdoors, and there are requirements for that. And especially ventilation, as in all modern buildings, must have that. Bathroom and laundry room have to be vented so that odorous vapors or anything fire hazards can be vented. The laundry room with its lint and debris can also has to be positioned to go outside. Safety equipment. You can augment some of the issues of the building code by adding automatic fire sprinkler systems for conditions where you cannot satisfy the code through natural means. Here's an example of automatic fire sprinkler system required for new construction. All buildings must have smoke detectors and alarms installed. And at the start of every hall that serves a bedroom, in each of the sleeping rooms, and outside each sleeping area for the immediate vicinity of the bedrooms, on each level of a residence, including basements, habitable space, and within 3 feet from a door opening to a bathroom. There is a whole type of codes that are just based on saving energy, and just like LEED and working with sustainability. But that is a topic for another day. We'll just let you know that it does exist there. Weather is a big factor, and there's a map that uses and tries to satisfy code depending on the area of the country. General requirements that there's a thermal properties for each of the walls. Specific requirements, the IECC, there are ceilings in storage attic, must have insulation, ceilings with no attic storage, and mass walls. So many of the times when you see in Revit and you'll see the wall, check out the detail components and you'll be able to see what kind of sandwich is made up for that particular wall. And by creating those planks, you're actually helping to satisfy and get your numbers up from the thermal mass. Good illustration of typical foundry, foundation wall, perforated perimeter, where you might want to add insulation. Wonderful International Green Construction Code is really very valuable, but we will keep that to a minimum. Our particular construction that design activity that we have for our class does not require that at this time. Okay, so there will be the test, and the test is really you can fill out your worksheet. And once you have your worksheet filled out, then you may be able to open up the quiz to have access, and it will submit for you. Now, not all the questions are used on our particular quiz. It's an example of what questions can appear. And we'll go further into room and relation sizes on the next video. Thanks for watching.